Good day and welcome to Digital Mathematics, a new revolutionized way of looking at mathematics to take it to the masses and to make mathematics available to all those who maybe struggle to have a teacher or who struggles with certain content that someone cannot explain properly to them, or those information that assist you to do well in the subject. This platform I have created as a facility to assist learners in all areas, from all backgrounds, to be able to get the information that they need to ensure success in the subject, as well as building their confidence for the subject, moving from strength to strength. Much of the lessons will be overlapped between different grades, and I ask you to share with your friends that are in the same grades as you. I do caution, however, also that this product is copyright protected, and it is unlawful to cut and edit information to make it seem as if it is your own. The content that is created by Ricardo Vissi, and it is for everyone's benefit to be used and also to assist those that struggle. It's not to make money off. If this material is sold to you or someone charges you for it, please notify me so that we can prosecute this person. The information is free of charge to everyone that needs assistance. Let's get straight into it. This is video 1. I'm going to focus on 5 different components that a learner in grade 8 and grade 9 should have in their toolbox to ensure that they have success. The first of this is the numbers 1 to 100. This is something that is on the first page of your book, and you recite this daily. I often say to learners, once you look enough at these numbers, you'll start seeing patterns. These patterns can range from seeing that these numbers escalate in tens, seeing that these numbers are adding 9 every time to the numbers, adding 11 to the numbers, does not matter in which sequence, and an array of other patterns that you could potentially also notice. But you have to engage with these numbers daily. So I always say to learners, I've got a 21-day rule. Within 21 days, if you do this every day, every morning, every afternoon, and every evening, and you recite it out loud, you will have much success. Just the 5 principles that I will teach today. So the numbers 1 to 100, you will recite forward, read it out loud. Don't just mumble the numbers off. And then you will also read it backwards from 100 to 1, and then you will see the transition from 90 to the 80s becomes self-explanatory. For example, many of us has learned to count from 20 backwards, and we can do it fast. But if someone should ask me to start counting backwards from 56, generally when I get to 50 and I need to transition to 49, I will find that I struggle a little bit with this. So we need to train ourselves to read backwards so that we build on our fluency between adding and subtracting numbers of different. The second tool that we should have in our toolbox should be our times tables. I find that learners struggle to make associations. For example, if I say to you, what are the factors of 54? Then I should have an array of things that I can work with and say 54 is achieved by taking 9 and multiplying it by 6. Likewise, I can 2 multiplied by 27 will also give me 54. And this is merely by taking the skill of the factors of 9 and the factors of 6. When I divide 6 by 3, I multiply 9 by 3. When I divide 6 by 2, I multiply 9 by 2. In order to get different results of numbers that I could potentially use to get the result of 54. And this I should be able to do effectively for any number that is within this table of factors. And now for those of you that has forgotten your times tables, please get familiar with the multiplication table as it was 2 times 3, 2 times 4, 2 times 5, 2 times 6, 2 times 7, etc. to give you the result you are looking for. Recite it in that order. Once that rapport is built, no one can take it away from you. The third skill that should be in your toolbox is your squares and your square roots. For example, 1 square is 1 times 1 is equal to 1. 2 squared is 2 multiplied by 2 is equal to 4. 3 squared is equal to 3 multiplied by 3 is equal to 9. This squares should be known 1 to 20. And likewise for each and every one of these answers, you must also know the square root of 1 is 1 up until the square root of 400 is equal to 20. So all these square numbers you must know, because if you do not know them, you will never identify that the number is a square. And how do we find the square root? For those who have forgotten in grade 7 how we did it, we either did it with the spine method or with the fishbone method. So when we look at the one method, we say 256 divided by 2 is 128. Then it's again an even number, so it's divisible by 2. So 2 goes into 128 64 times. Even number, once again I can divide by 2. 2 goes into 64 32 times. Once again it's an even number, so I divide again by 2. 32 divided by 2 is 16. Even number, so once again I can divide by 2. So 2 goes into 16 8 times. 8 is an even number. 2 goes into 8 4 times. 4 is an even number, so 2 can go into 4 2 times. 2 is an even number. 2 goes into 2 once. So my factors for 256 is 2 multiplied by 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 2. And because I'm working with the square root, I group them in groups of 2. And out of every group of 2, I only take one of the 2's out of there. So I say 2 multiplied by 2. So I take a 2 from there. I take a 2 from there. I take a 2 from there. So it is 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 2. And that gives me an answer of 16. So the square root of 256 is 16. If I did the other method, I would say 2 goes into 256 128 times. 2 goes into 128 64 times. 2 goes into 64 32 times. 2 goes into 32 16 times. 2 goes into 16 8 times. 2 goes into 8 4 times. 2 goes into 4 2 times. 2 goes into 2 once. And then I factorize. So 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is equal to 256. And this I will then write out, and I will say 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, because I take one from every group, and I will use them in my solving of the square root of 256. So that being said, it can be done for any number. We have got to find the square root, and that number is a complete square. I can find the answer to that. The third thing I must have in my toolkit is my cubes. Cubes and cube roots. Knowing the difference between a cube and a cube root, that is very important, because a cube means 1 multiplied by 1 multiplied by 1, or 5 multiplied by 5 multiplied by 5, 125. So The cube root of 1,000 is 10. And for those that cannot remember grade 7, you were taught how to find the cube root of a number. You prime factorize the number first. Then you group them in groups of 3. And then you take 1 from every group. So therefore 2 multiplied by 5 will give me 10. 10 is the cube root of 1,000. The last thing that you should have in your toolbox is the properties of different shapes. I did not include in here the triangles, but I want to specifically say the following shapes: circle, square, rectangle, rhombus, parallelogram, trapezium, kite, and quadrilaterals. When I say to you the following, write down all the properties of the following shapes, supply as many properties as you possibly can, and I say to you that this number at the back tells you how many properties you can actually list of these shapes. I can tell you already at the square, you'll most probably only list 4. There is 9 properties that you could potentially list. I want you to press pause at this point in time and write down all the properties for these shapes, and then see how much you have scored out of 44. And see how ready are you to handle any issue with regard to geometry. If you know your facts of these geometrical shapes, you won't have any difficulty handling any question coming out of geometry. Please press pause at this point in time and give yourself enough time to answer as many of them as you can. Fair enough. I think most of you were shocked beyond your comprehension that you knew so little facts about these shapes. I will reveal to you the different shapes. Circle has no sides, got a radius, it's got a diameter. A square has got 4 equal sides, 4 angles that are equal. The angles are all 90 degrees. Angles add up to 360 degrees. 2 pairs of opposite sides that are parallel. Diagonals meet at 90 degrees. Diagonals bisect the angles at 45 degrees. Diagonals bisect each other. Co-interior angles add up to 180 degrees. Now you can press pause again and try to answer the other questions, because now you have a fair idea as to what you could have used to answer those properties of the other shapes. I think at this stage you are ready to see the answers of the other shapes. For those who did not try, you can always try again after memorizing most of these properties. So, for a rectangle, parallelogram, trapezium, and the other shapes, you will find the properties associated with the number that they are represented. Remember the numbers we had? A rectangle was 3, rhombus was 4, 5 was a parallelogram. So 3 rectangle, 4 rhombus, 5 parallelogram, then 6 a trapezium, 7 your kite, and 8 quadrilateral. Quadrilateral is just a shape with 4 sides that are closed. It's a closed shape with 4 sides, and the angles add up to 360 degrees. There's no specific properties. And if you go from back to the front, you will see that these properties are associated with all the other shapes that you work with. Just one other property that you can add to the rhombus is that adjacent sides are equal. So 4 adjacent sides are also equal. So you could have added another one to make the 45 full. So this is our first interaction. Trust you enjoyed it. Share it with your friends. Like, comment, subscribe. And let's see how we take mathematics into the future. Goodbye.